Don't even think about talking with me right now. I'm having a caffeine attack. Coffee. I need coffee right now. Help me somebody. I need my caffeine fix. Hello. Can anybody hear me? Please help me. Please.
Alright everyone, welcome to episode 8 of the Leen Eats Podcast. We're here in the podcast HQ for anyone on YouTube. Shout out to all the YouTube listenership. Shout out to everyone on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're getting it. We appreciate you tuning in for episode 8, where we're going to look at all things coffee related, as we will be joined later on by special guests David O'Connor and Brian Conroy from Kildare, who are two esteemed runners that have come together to give us DB beans. And we actually have a nice little 10k blend of DB beans right here. But before we get into all that, myself and Poddy just want to share our own insights on our own love of coffee and how everything is going as well. Just to give you a bit of a catch up. It's been about a week since we last came in, and we've already gone viral on YouTube with our Elite Sports Recovery video. But Poddy, how's everything been? What's your training like? And was Elite Sports Recovery better on the second time you went?
Everything's going good now. Back, the gym's opened up there last week, of course. We all know that, but we're really sore now after this week's sessions. Other than that, went to Elite Sports today, and definitely a lot easier this time. But I'd say as well, it'd be a lot more beneficial because I was actually sore going into this time compared to last time. Other than that, World's Strongest Man started last Monday. I love to watch that. Anyone looking for results and stuff, follow the Stoltman brothers. They're kind of the best at the moment for bringing up results and stuff.
Am I right in saying they're the favourites too?
They are, I think. I know that most people on this are probably runners, but you care about strongman, of course.
I care about all sports.
Tom Stoltman's kind of looking favourite at the moment. He's top his leaderboard, kind of killing it really. And as well, buzzing Euros started.
Euros buzz.
Since the last time we talked to you. And Olympics,
that's coming up soon.
Olympics
Tokyo 2021.
well, that's
7 athletes announced on the Irish team. Love to see it. And there's more to come too, no doubt.
Yeah, been drinking coffee. Kind of got back into coffee again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'd love to hear it. I kind of got back in because of DB beans, really. I couldn't do a podcast episode about coffee and not drink coffee, so I had a couple of cups this week. And
what's your go-to Poddy?
If I was out flat white, but kind of something I love at home now. I suppose you wouldn't think it. You think I'd be more an espresso, but I love an iced coffee.
An iced coffee?
Yeah, I've been making iced coffee, cold brews and stuff, and of course espresso martinis.
Oh, love that
too.
Shout out, that's the Spirit Cocktails.
Yeah,
Poddy's little plug there.
Nothing else strange, really, to be honest.
No, nothing. Just sipping coffee, running, training. A bit of impartial to a flat white myself.
Our last podcast was our record podcast as well. Gotta thanks everyone who listened. Where I know it's nice to see kind of getting better now as well. Like over 100 listens again, like getting quite consistent.
Yeah,
it's good to see it. Yeah,
it's great to see, and like we really appreciate all the support as well. Like anytime I hop onto Instagram and might not even be tagged or anything, and you just see the Leen Eats Podcast just pops up on Snapchat or on Instagram stories, it actually means so much. And like I don't think you can kind of get across in a reply like what it means to us, because like we kind of put this out there, and it's just so nice to see that like people are listening with all the stuff that goes into it. But again, back to the coffee. We'll touch on the benefits of coffee in a minute now, but Poddy, what's your go-to cafe in Cork? Do you have any personal favourites, or are you easygoing?
Oh, I love Bean and Leaf. They've been Leaf in Glamire, and in town they do the best. Now, I suppose not even for the coffee. Like I go there because they have the nicest brownie ever, lovely brownie. But I do love there for coffee. I used to love, was it Butler's Cafe or something?
Oh, good hot chocolate and Butler's. Butler's still there, I think. O'Connell's.
I used to love O'Connell's, but they're gone. I don't really drink coffee that much. I 100% stay away from Starbucks. Hate it.
No Starbucks, no Costas either.
No Costa, no O'Brien's Cafe, none of that. Kind of the standalone cafes, like corn shop cafes, they're the ones to go to.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening and you're caught in the trap of insomnia, Costa, Starbucks, this is your opportunity just to get out, just explore.
Try Bean and Leaf, or try make your own coffee at home. try brewing it yourself.
with DP beans.
Yeah, with DB beans,
Especially
or
coffee
any
supply.
coffee grind as well. One huge thing with them that I can't wait to start getting into is grind the coffee yourself. Don't buy instant coffee. Buy coffee beans. The smell in your house is going to be amazing, and as well, it's going to taste a lot fresher. It's going to keep a lot fresher, and just taste better. That's what you want as well.
Don't get the pre-ground beans either. That was a big lesson I had to learn. Actually get the grinder yourself, and the lads will tell you, you don't even need the grinder. You can just use the NutriBullet if you have one of them, or a blender, food processor, and you can grind it that way. But Paddy, is there anything you want to touch on the grinding? I know you had a lot that you were really interested in that, about the grind size and the different methods of brewing.
There are a few things here. Like there's before I looked into this now, all I thought there was a French press. I thought that every coffee done with beans was you just literally plunge it and that's it. But there's so many other different methods of brewing your coffee. Like there's French press, there's like Turkish coffee pots, there's espresso makers, there's like
got your AeroPress.
Yeah, you got your AeroPress and your cold brew machine and all that. The key thing as well, obviously, when you're grinding your beans, there's different like extents to which you can grind it. So you can grind it very finely, so the beans will be literally very small, kind of like salt or like table sugar. And the best way to brew that then, of course, in a Turkish coffee pot, so on the hob of your stove at home. And then on the complete opposite end of things, you have your French press. So with your Turkish coffee pot, you have the beans very finely grinded. With this, you can have them coarse, so kind of chunkier bits, more kind of like sea salt. If you've ever seen sea salt, it's very chunky. So like look into it. There's a coffee cheat sheet up on DB Beans website as well, dbbeans.ie. So just have a look at that cheat sheet and you can see, if you want your coffee really strong, then of course maybe brew it for longer or grind it a lot finer. Or if you want it a bit weaker, then go with French press. It's all up in their cheat sheet there. Might even put it up on
in the show notes down below. Yeah, check it out.
Might put it up on Paddy Powerlifts, and of course you might put it up on Leen Eats. I don't know. If we're not, we can cut it out.
Yeah,
we can cut this bit out. But
what I would say there, Paddy touched on like the different strengths and the different ways you grind it. The brewing method can have a big effect on that too. If you're looking for like a weaker, more wholesome coffee in a way too, you just get a lot more volume out of it as well. You're probably looking at your cold brew, your V60, your French press. If you're looking for like the stronger, more espresso style, like French press, probably Americano or filter coffee style. If you're looking at the likes of your French or your mocha pots, AeroPress, anything along those lines, or like say like the coffee machines where you put it in and out, like the espresso machines, they're going to give you that like finer coffee and that stronger coffee. Big thing as well is the actual beans you use. So there's the weaker strengths and the stronger strengths. The lads will get into it with DB beans. They kind of do it the 5 to the 42k, but you'll see it with any brand. There'll be like the light roast, the medium roast, the dark roast. I'm a big lover of medium roast, to be honest. I find it very nice. It's not too bitter. Any preferences yourself, Paddy, or are you going to go with flow?
I do usually just have instant coffee and I hate myself for it. I have like the Tesco Nespresso or something, just 2 spoons of coffee into the cup and a bit of hot water. It's kind of like eating processed food, really. It's not the right way to do it, John. So I'm definitely going to start doing the beans, grinding it myself. But I am interested in getting a Turkish coffee pot just because it gives you the strongest blend. And when I have coffee, like I usually have it black, so I would like the strong blend. We have a French press. I've tried that a few times, but as well, like that is lovely, the French press, and the smell that you get in your house is amazing. What I would love to look into is cold brew, especially working in a pub. Try and make it with a cold brew, mix it with whiskey, mix it with Baileys or something, even make an espresso martini with it. So that's something to look at. I might look into getting a Turkish coffee pot and a cold brew maker as well.
If I'm not mistaken too, there's more caffeine in a cold brew as well than there is in the other brews. So interesting stuff. You're learning here every episode. But yeah, the different methods of roasting, like Paddy were saying, like it's going to give you a different strength of coffee. It's going to give you different caffeine content as well. One thing as well, we were talking about having the black coffee. Do you know if you have it with milk, it actually spikes the caffeine, so it actually changes the release of the caffeine from the coffee.
I didn't know
So
that.
if you have a flat white, I always notice I'll be buzzing after a flat white, but if I get a double espresso, won't notice the same buzz straight away. But you're actually getting a more prolonged release of the caffeine from like a double espresso than you will with the flat white. It's just the milk takes the insulin spike, so the caffeine just digests a lot faster, and you get an initial buzz, but it kind of goes away.
So maybe with shorter runs, have a bit of milk. With longer runs, maybe have no milk.
It's not a bad strategy to adopt.
Yeah.
Or even if you're coming up closer to a race and you're stuck for time, if it won't upset your stomach, go for the milk. Caffeine and running and training in any sport has massive difference, especially with the endurance exercise. Big performance increases there. Can't put an actual percentage on it, but Paddy, have you ever found that like going into a competition, I know you've used pre-workout yourself, even if we look at like caffeine, does that give you any bit of a buzz?
Well, definitely, like there's caffeine in the pre-workout. The pre-workout's mental, like the feeling from that is insane, but I'm staying away from that. I don't know how safe it is. Like, to be honest, I'd have to do a bit more research into that, but the buzz you get from that is mad, so it doesn't seem good. With caffeine though, like I remember when I was cutting weight for when I was looking to powerlifting competition there a good while ago, just before everything shut down with COVID. Of course, it was cancelled in the end, but when I was trying to cut weight, I wasn't eating that much food in the mornings, so I needed some way to get energy for my morning session. So I was having double espresso, and that was giving me really good energy. Like, I think way better energy than the pre-workout as well. Like, it was more prolonged with the pre-workout. It hits you, and you might have the peak benefits, as I felt, for 5-10 minutes. With the double espresso, like I was hitting PBs even when I wasn't eating until 1 o'clock. And usually, like, I'd have a big breakfast, but like I was hitting PBs without even having a big breakfast. But I think that coffee does it to you, like the insulin spike and just the adrenaline buzz that you get from it. So, like,
what you're saying there about pre-workout too, I remember trying Run Gum before. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No.
Not just for runners either. You can use it for anything, but it's like a caffeine-based chewing gum. And I was looking at their website earlier. I think it absorbs 5 times quicker than coffee does. So you can imagine the buzz you get off flat white, multiply that by 5.
Yeah.
And you'd be off your rocker for about half an hour. You'd run really well. And to come down off that, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I'd say you're getting the mix of taurine, and it's probably the same with pre-workout, like you were saying there. It's just not that nice on the body. You don't want to put yourself through that. But caffeine definitely does have a big benefit on your performance for anyone that's not aware of that already, whether that's in endurance exercise or like if you're in a strength-based or a shorter-based exercise, the like percentage increase in performance isn't going to be as pronounced. It's just going to impact your central nervous system. You're going to be a bit more focused. You're going to be a bit more aware. You'll get that bit of a buzz. But in endurance exercise, it's definitely been proven to like have such big impact that you're way better off having it than not having it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually looking at a study yesterday, Paddy, and carbohydrates are key for energy. Like, carbs are king. They did a study on cyclists where they gave them no carbohydrate, then just carbs, then just coffee, and then like carbs and coffee. So obviously you could imagine, or it was caffeine, not coffee. But like obviously if they didn't take on anything, they were the worst performers. And then the ones that just had caffeine and carbohydrate, they weren't as effective as the ones that had caffeine and carbohydrate. So like caffeine actually does have a significant increase in your performance for endurance athletes. So if you're not on it already, get on it. You're looking to get about 180 to 300 milligrams. So do you want to know how many cups of coffee that is?
2?
3.
3.
3 or 4,
Good.
which is quite a bit, especially when you're getting in before a run. So that is something for any of the runners out there to consider, any of the cyclists, any of the people with long lifting competitions, anyone out here listening from the World's Strongest Man competition. It's going to be an endurance event in itself, I suppose.
There's a lot of running in that too.
Is there?
There is, yeah.
Which event now has the running in
the
it?
Loading Medley and Farmer's Walk.
Farmer's Walk.
It's not very fast, but there's still a bit of cardio in there. Like,
it's the Farmer's Walk, the one that... Have you seen Game Changers? No. It's Farmer's Walk, the one where you have the weight on you. It's really, really heavy. Yeah. It's nearly like you have the milk barrels out your side. It's pretty much like that, and you have to go down. It looks insane. Anyone that hasn't seen the Farmer's Walk, check it out. I think your man had the world record going Game Changers. Wouldn't put it down to his diet, to be honest. Just probably the training. Yeah. But anyone out there, check it out. And Paddy's prediction from last time seems to be coming true. Stokeman brothers dominating.
Yeah, dominating. I think still Tom Stoneman number 1, Alexei Novikov number 2, maybe JF Karan or Luke Stoneman number 3, and we'll see if that comes true now. By the end of it, it'll be finished all this time next week.
I don't know where the rumour is true. Is Eddie Hall coming in?
I saw that Eddie Hall was coming in, but I don't think it was actually true. I think it was a spoof. I saw on Instagram, right, that he was coming back into it, that he was asked up because there were a lot of dropouts, like last minute dropouts, but I don't think it's true because he's not competing at all, so it's very disappointing.
Very sad stuff. Very sad stuff. Paddy, when you've been competing, have you ever gotten into using coffee as a performance enhancer, or has it always just been strictly the enjoyment of going for a coffee, going for a chat?
Usually, when I do drink coffee, it's a performance enhancer. I don't do it for the social aspect. I wouldn't usually go out for a cup of coffee. But no, I do use it as a performance enhancing. I've only started drinking coffee, I suppose, the last 2 years, really. But yeah, it does help. I think it does help a lot with the sports. I would drink it before a big competition, and maybe have a bit of food, have a bit of carbohydrates or whatever with it. But yeah, I would use it as a performance enhancer, and I do kind of think that it works. It works pretty well.
I think when you're talking about carbs as well, I think coffee, just because of that insulin spike, helps to absorb it's either carbs or protein a lot quicker after exercise. I think it helps replace muscle glycogen. That's why it's so effective in endurance exercise. So if you're not aware yourself, or anyone out there that's not aware, glycogen is just the energy system for you when you're in any bit of exercise, and it's just basically helping to make that more efficient, and it helps to release free fatty acids that your body's just going to use as another energy source, and more energy equals better performance, lads. Simple as it. So it's not just coffee though, it's all caffeine. There are benefits to coffee outside caffeine as well though.
What are they?
Antioxidants. So always hear about antioxidants. What do you think an antioxidant is, Paddy?
Is that what was in the Actimel?
That they're the probiotics, but
I don't know.
The antioxidants are kind of bounced about quite a bit. I remember I used to think they were a magic formula or something that would just help you stay alive forever. But vitamin C is an antioxidant, so it's not it's something that's crazy, but it is really good to try get as much of them in your diet. You're going to get a lot in blueberries, a lot of them in a mix of different fruits. And coffee is actually the biggest source, or it's not the richest source, but it's where most people will get the majority of their polyphenols and chlorogenic acids and antioxidants. There are different types of antioxidants and flavonoids. They just help to reduce inflammation. Coffee's also been linked to reduced levels of heart disease development. So it's actually been shown that you're better off getting 2 to 4 cups of coffee a day than to get 0 cups of coffee per day, and better than getting 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day. And that's just in a healthy population, not necessarily in athletes. So if you're not on the coffee game, you should get on it, or get a bit of tea into you maybe. You'll be getting a lot of that.
Tea.
Settled today.
Barry's or Lions?
Barry's.
Yeah.
There's no competition.
No.
If you're in Cork and you're saying Lions,
Get out of Cork.
Get out of Cork. You more of a tea or a coffee man?
Tea man now. I used to be a coffee man, but I've been changed to tea for some reason. I don't know what it is. The last 5 or 6 months.
Lockdown would do it too. You get very cozy at home.
Yeah.
Nice warm cup of tea.
And it doesn't keep me up as much.
Yeah. It doesn't. But there's still caffeine in tea, lads.
Yeah.
Watch out. Don't have it before bed. Get your decaf tea in ASAP. Tea. Love good cup of tea. But we won't keep you too long, lads. We're going to get into it with David and Brian. We really enjoyed chatting with them. We hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Best of luck.
Good luck.
Coffee break!
Alright lads, welcome to episode 8 of the Leen Eats Paudcast. We're happy today to be joined by David O'Connor and Brian Conroy of DB Beans. David and Brian are both avid runners that have decided to come together and share their love of running and love of coffee to bring DB Beans. So lads, How did you get started with DB Beans? How did you actually cross paths yourselves?
I think myself and Brian, crossed paths many years ago, I think in a cross-country circuit. We're both from Kildare, so we've kind of come up against each other initially in the same club. And then Brian was a traitor, jumped over to the club next door just because they had nicer facilities, I think. So no, we've tried to train together and race together, and we worked on a few projects over the years together. We would have worked on the Kia Race Series together. I was in Kia at the time working, and Brian obviously had pop-up races, so the two of them came together. So we've known each other for a long time. And then obviously trained for a couple of marathons together and both been on that marathon journey for the last number of years.
In terms of like your own running experience, you touched on the marathon there. With your like different blends with the coffees as well, I see there's a bit of a range from like 5 to 42k. What are your specialties? Like David, what would you race yourself? Do you want to give us a bit of your own running background?
Yeah, I suppose nothing that would jump out majorly at the lower distances or at the higher distances for some people, but would have been on the marathon journey for a number of years, really chasing that. Kind of starts off my first marathon, I think in 2000 and I think it was 2016. I was running back in Dublin, ran 2:58 as a first marathon, not really knowing what I was going to do or where I'd be. I went on the journey then, really trying to get to that magical 2:30 over the next 5 or 6 years, and had some, kind of got down to high 2:37s, kind of around that 2:37, and then had some horrific marathons where I went back up 2:38. London one year really bad, or Brian had a really good race, I had a really bad one. So listen, just talked to coaches after that and decided, you know what, you need to take some time away from the marathon. So stripped it right back, took 2 years out from marathon, went back to the track, tried to just run, 60 or kind of go back and run 3,000s really and 5,000 on the track, and wouldn't be where I'd be comfortable outside my comfort zone, kind of getting down to, I don't know, what did I'm trying to think of even times, it was like 9 minutes or that type of thing, and for 3,000, so nothing special, but just trying to work hard. And eventually came back up then in 2019 and went to Rotterdam in the March, April time, after having a really kind of joining a new group, having a good kind of year of training, and ran 2:31. I'm really happy with it, because not going there expecting to break the 2:30, and then decided to give it another go in Dublin that year in 2019, mainly because I had a 1-year-old daughter at home, and my wife had just found out we were expecting twin girls the following April, so I knew it was going to be my last marathon for a while. So gave Dublin a go and ran 2:30 and 40 seconds. So I took another minute off it, but just not enough to get under that 2:30. So, but was happy with that, and so I've kind of made all the mistakes along the way that everyone makes, with nutrition and sleep and training, and then going OTT with nutrition sometimes, and weight loss, and that probably when I got back to running the quickest was probably at my heaviest. So it was eating properly and having sensible nutrition rather than crazy stuff, or trying to be overboard, just trying to live naturally and normally and kind of stronger that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd find that myself, and even with clients I've worked with, but primarily from my own experience, like in running, you can get so caught up in like the visual aspect of it and trying to like make sure that like you're at a certain weight, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to performance at all. But fascinating story there, only a whisker away from the 2:30. Do you have any plans to try and dip under that in the near future, or is the main focus now on the DB Beans?
At the moment it's DB Beans. Things a long road back, kind of getting back to some level of fitness now. The last year hasn't been great at all, really, obviously with the 3 young kids. But it's slowly making our way back. But it's just hard looking ahead to think how far I've slipped or how far I've lost. So much work to get back to it. But listen, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying getting out. It's good for the mind. It's good for the body. So just going to enjoy that and see where it takes me. Hopefully, I'd hope to be back in a marathon, if not later this year, early next year, and see how it goes.
And just before we get to Brian there as well, like you can see from what you're saying there, like having the DB Beans and your own work and your own running and having the 3 kids and the twins, like how have you found you were able to like strike a balance between all of that and just really try maximize everything?
I think, to be honest with you, it was until the kids came along I didn't have a great balance at all, and I probably overthought the training and overthought things. And when they came along, you only have a set amount of time. You have to take your windows. Like at the moment for last year, my running's at lunchtime. You know what I mean? If you get a lunch, get out, get your training done, and anything else is a bonus after that. But at least you know it's finished. But kind of a really good balance between the work, and it's great that DB Beans because it's connected to running scene as well. It doesn't feel like work. It's kind of, I think Brian said this to me years ago. Like if you love, and it's a cliche, but if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's like that with DB Beans because we're just passionate about it, and we feel that we found something that can help other athletes because it's trying to overcome or get a good coffee blend for runners that we found was missing there, that could be enjoyed by others and simple to understand type of thing.
Yeah, what you're saying there is time management. That's so important as well. Trying to strike that balance and trying to like undercomplicate things, just simplify things, like you were saying there, and like you're doing with DB Beans too. I suppose having that coffee brand that's just tailored there for runners, and you've got the different blends for like the stronger blends with like more caffeine, stronger taste for when you're doing your like harder blocks of training. But then, Brian, on your side of things, then how did you fall in love with running? Where did your passion stem from?
My passion probably stemmed from running from my dislike of rugby, which I played for about 15 years, and every Monday morning going into work broken up, and I went up to the Dublin Marathon in 2012 to watch my brother do it, and got the buzz then and said I'm doing this next year. So 2013 Dublin Marathon was my first one. I ran a 3:07, and I kind of went from there. I think Doc is probably doing himself a bit of disservice. I mean, Doc has national cross country medals there as well that he didn't mention with his team as well. So he's the man I've been chasing for years and years, and caught him eventually, but it took a while. He's a very good runner. Yeah, but as I said, my own story. 2013 was my first marathon, and it's kind of been a good downward curve since then in terms of time. So I've gone from 3:07 to breaking 3 the following year in Dublin, and I got down to my PB is 2:28:51, which I ran in Amsterdam in 2019. So I was all gung ho to go to Wrexham this year with the COVID restrictions, obviously put an end to that, but did the training block anyway, and I think that'll hopefully stand to me come Berlin. Berlin is the next target now, so fingers crossed we'll get over to that. And that's it. Yeah, I run with Clane AC. I was in Celebrity AC very, very briefly because Clane didn't really have a senior squad at the time, but it's there now, and I'm kind of Clane born and bred.
No, I kept beating them, so we had to leave. I was beating them at the time.
That as well, yeah. But as I say, yeah, Clane is where I'm from. I'd never leave it, and so I'm happy to be part of that club now. So that's it in a nutshell. I run race a bit of 5k, a bit of 10k, a bit on the track, but it's probably 5k is probably my best, but I probably dislike it the most as well because you really have to. It's hardship, you kind of have to be prepared to hurt in the 5k, and be a bit lazy in that regard. I don't like to hurt too much, so I'd run all day in the marathon, and yeah, the body will hurt, but your lungs aren't going to hurt anywhere near as bad as a 5k. So yeah, that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
It'd be hard to get anything to match the last 6 miles of a marathon, though, I'd say. Just really the mental endurance there as well.
That's it as well. But I suppose again, the old cliche: the marathon starts at 20 miles, and it does to a degree. But like, give me the last 6 miles of a marathon over the last 5 minutes of a 5k any day of the week, and it sounds ridiculous, but that's for me it is, because I don't know. Well, my heart just gets, the heart rate goes that high on a 5k. It can't be healthy, I don't know. So it's a bit more comfortable on a marathon.
Of course, as well, there, lads, that like you're runners yourselves, and DB Beans is kind of, I suppose, it's targeted at runners with the different types of blends, like the 5k to the 42k blend. But there's nothing saying as well, like cyclists, of course, and I suppose myself being a powerlifter and things, like the lads, if we're doing a heavier session, I suppose the 42k blend is probably best for us than if we were doing like a lighter session. Like it kind of goes hand in hand with other sports too, would you say?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I suppose it does.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and myself and Dave have talked about this as well, but dovetailing into cycling and triathlon. I think all athletes somewhere or another have caffeine as part of their diet. We've marketed our runners because runners is what we know, but that's not to say that down the line there couldn't be a DB blend for triathletes, DB blend for cyclists, DB blend for anything really. As I said, we started running because running is what we know, and it just worked well, I suppose. Do you agree with that, Doc?
Yeah, I suppose that kind of comes back to where and how it started, and like anyone that reads the About Us section on the website will probably have heard all this. But mean, it did literally start on a long run one Sunday morning around Kildare, myself and Brian, and it just came down to a little bit of frustration about, because we both love coffee, and we would both use it as part of our diets, but it was kind of yo-yoing from one brand to another and finding one that actually A, tasted really good, and B, that we found worked well with our nutrition, and been able to have it, an hour before, an hour and a half before a run, and not having any side effects from it, as people say, with cramps or things like that, or having to stop for a toilet break. And we just felt there was nothing there for runners in particular, but for athletes that were, and we tried to say, well, could we go and try a long journey of sourcing really good coffee from the top coffee nations, which turn out to be mainly the top running nations. That's just good coffee that works well with your nutrition, and you can take it without being afraid to take it. And I think we've chatted before, we don't have any necessary scientific backup to it, but certainly the trials and tests we done with it, we find our blends are much easier to digest and much easier on the body and the stomach. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that it's 100% Arabica bean in 3 of the blends, and the 42k blend is 80% Arabica. Without getting too technical, but that's what gives us its smoothness, and it's just easy to drink. I think you guys have tasted it, and I think it's easy on the palate. It's a nice, refreshing coffee.
Yeah, it's very, very light as well when you're getting out for a training session, like I found on the runs. It's very easy to take. You were saying with the 4 blend and the 42k blend, which is the strongest one, that's got the Robusta beans then. Is that the one that would have like the highest caffeine content that you kind of like target for your hard sessions?
Yeah, so we worked obviously with our roaster well to kind of, like, each blend was sounds silly to say hand-picked. Obviously we didn't pick them in Kenya or Ethiopia, but they were brought in for that reason. Like, so obviously the blends are coming from the top coffee nation. So like the 5k is Kenyan, our 10k is a Colombian, our 21k is Ethiopian, and then our 42k is a Vietnamese. And all those nations are world renowned for coffee. But about the 42k for us was always about the pinnacle of finding that blend for a marathon stroke ultra marathon runner, or like yourself, Paddy, like someone that's into weights and lifting like that you can actually feel, okay, I'm going to get a nice good kick off this. Yeah. But we've all tasted coffee that's really strong, and it's like so bitter. Like, so I was trying to find that blend of something that was nice and strong, was going to give you the caffeine intake that you wanted, the extra hit, but that was easy on the palate as well. So I was trying to find that blend, and that's why we went with a 20% blend there, an 80-20 split there within that coffee blend.
And lads, when you get out to a cafe now, if you're after your long runs and you're getting some DB beans into you, what are you going to go for? Are you going to go for a cheeky old espresso Americano, or are you going to go down the flat white latte cappuccino route?
I'm an Americano man anyway. I actually, for one of my Dublin build-ups, going back to diet and all that, I got obsessed with diet and actually went vegan for 4 months pre-Dublin one of the times. Jeez. Lost a pile of weight and like was nowhere near my best. I was definitely the lightest I ever was, but never didn't run that well. I was too weak, I think. But I went back on a normal diet after that, but never went back on milk in my coffee. So I've been drinking black coffee ever since. And so yeah, it's Americanos all the way for me. I can't remember. I used to live on lattes and cappuccinos, but I literally haven't touched one in about 4 years. Just can't drink it anymore.
Go hard or go home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a 10k blend Americano for me. That's my go-to drink on any day, really.
How about yourself, David?
More a 21k blend, bit of a flat white now for me, just to mix things up. But
it's soft, that's all.
It's funny. Yeah, Brian slices is soft, like that little bit of extra. But it's funny, different people comment on different things about the blends. I think that the 10k and 21k have been very popular because they're that mid-strength. But the 5k is very drinkable. Some people say some people said to us, Brian, it's an afternoon coffee, isn't it? You could drink it late in the day, and
not keep you up all night.
Not be too worried about it. We done a social media post recently where I said I done a review of the 5k blend, and I got in trouble for saying the 5k blend was a bit like Brian. It was very, very smooth, but it wouldn't keep you up all night. I don't think his wife was too happy.
Yeah, she agreed. That's why I wasn't happy.
As well, lads, you were saying that obviously when you were running before that, you went through a load of different coffees, kind of trial and error, and you couldn't find one that you really loved, that kind of, I suppose, that was good for a run. But why in the end, like all your coffee beans, they're all, the coffee beans, and you must grind them then at home. What's the reason behind that? I saw it's a bit of freshness, but would you be able to give us a bit more insight into that?
Yeah, like I think with coffee beans, again, we get asked a lot by customers, do we sell our coffee ground? And we don't, because as was explained to us when we were going through the beans process, oxygen isn't good for coffee. So you like when you start grinding your own beans, I say to anyone, you won't go back to any other way, because it's just the lovely smell you get in the kitchen, and just the taste. It's just a different experience completely to even pre-ground coffee. Do you know what I mean? As I liken it to going off to Australia and having a pint of Guinness and then coming home and having one here. It's chalk and cheese. So it's keeping the oxygen off the coffee as long as possible. So grinding it and then literally filtering it through, it gives it as fresh a taste as you can get. That's kind of it in a nutshell. And that's why, as I said, we get plenty of requests for people to say, can you send us your coffee ground? And we just say, no, you can buy a grinder off us and you can grind it yourself. But we almost feel we're cheating by giving it ground to people, because it does impact the flavour. Maybe only a small bit, but it does. And that's it.
And we found that, like, as like every other athlete, we've been through the ups and downs of nutrition, but we still try and eat as fresh as we can, and you would try and, eat as little processed food. And it's not to say that grinding is processing it, but it's still taking it away from its original freshness. Like, it's disturbing the whole makeup of the bean itself. So we try and keep that as fresh as you can as well. If you were saying, I don't know, would you buy something frozen in the shops, or would you buy it fresh? If it's not down to price or anything like that, you as an athlete, I think you'll go for the freshness. So certainly we try to keep our price point to the best that we can as well. So there's not really any particular difference in price wise. So, and even Brian done a good video there recently, which kind of it shows you don't have to have any expensive equipment. Like, you can use a NutriBullet and a French press, and off you go. Like, you don't have to have a big fancy machine or anything at home.
Yeah, I was actually saying to Paddy just before we started recording that I would have actually been one of those people that would have been anti saying, can I have them pre-ground, before I actually started using the grinder, when I started using your coffee. And it's a completely different experience from someone that's literally just gone from the pre-ground coffee straight to grinding it myself. Like, even getting the aroma released from it. Like, we're having a look at the 10K blend here. Sorry. We're having a look at the 10K blend here, and just when I made it myself, and you're actually grinding it specifically for whatever method of brewing you're using as well, like, just the difference in freshness and the taste qualities, it's insane. And as you were saying, you don't need a grinder either. You can use the NutriBullet. That's such a big difference to have. And like, freshness is key, I suppose, if you want to lock in the taste of it. Anything that's broken down in any way is going to be considered processed then. But in terms of, like, the different, pardon?
Sorry, even in the beans itself, like, where the roaster that, like, our roaster does it all for us, like, uses probably the most highly energy efficient and process of doing it, where they're kind of dried. It's an air process that's used to roast them, so it's all very environmentally friendly. And then they're gas flushed before they go into the bags, Brian, isn't it, for extra freshness? Like, the actual bags, rather than just air, it's actually gas flushed, so they're almost in fresh state.
Yeah, to keep the air and the oxygen to a minimum in that bag, because as I said, it's affecting the freshness of it. So they're gas flushed with nitrate, I think, before, or I'm not sure what gas is, sorry, but the gas flush before it goes in, and it just keeps it even fresher again. And you get that, I'm sure, when you open up the bag, just the lovely bang of fresh coffee when you open it for the first time. It's just, I don't know. Like, I was an instant coffee man this time last year even, and it's just when you change, you just never go back. It's just the way it is.
It does smell a lot nicer. Like, we have the 10K blend here, but those ones you buy in Tesco, like the instant ones, it smells shite really. It does actually smell nice, and I'm definitely going to like I haven't tried it now yet, but we have like French press at home, but I'll definitely throw it in, because just the smell of coffee in the house, like, you don't get the smell of coffee in your house with the instant stuff either. So I'm kind of buzzing for that, to be fair as well.
Yeah.
Even the whole procedure of, like, going out and just brewing it as well, it just adds so much to the experience too.
It does. You have to put a bit of time into it, I suppose. And like, if you want instant coffee, go and get instant coffee. If you have a busy lifestyle, if you can't take 10 minutes out of your day to sit down and put a bit of TLC into making a cup of coffee and enjoying it, then I don't know, we're all wasting our time,
Well, you're on that, lads. What what sort of methods of brewing have you used yourselves, and what, from your own experience, would you find gets the nicest quality of coffee?
I suppose between us, we probably use our own methods really, like just by the equipment that we would have had, and then just by obviously trial and error over the last year, 18 months. Obviously, we've tried a lot of different coffees and tried a lot of different methods. Like, and for us, it's making sure that that the consumer, when they get the coffee, that they try, they're tasting it in the best state that they can as well. And that can be, some people that are new to it would have questions about, using a French press or not. What's the best way to grind the bean to go into it? And I suppose each different machine that people use can be slightly different. Like, there's a bit of trial and error when people do it, first of all, especially machines. Like, you guys would have seen it. We have a cheat sheet on our website, which we send out with every order. So you get it in every order that you receive. And it's really just letting people know, if you want it, if you want it feeling stronger, grind it this way, and if you want it feeling weaker, then grind it the opposite way. And then French press is quite coarse, and then down to other, some of the pots, the boiling pots, and that it's actually a finer blend. So it's trying to steer people and help educate them as well. Is the best way to do it. But I think once you've done it a couple of times, then you know exactly what suits
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
and you get it right. Like, so yeah, we use. I say we've gone from everything. I would have been a French press a lot. Then ended up treating myself and buying one of the Sage Express barista machines. Just I think I didn't sleep for about 5 nights in a row with children teething at home, and I woke up and said, I'm just buying this machine because I just need something, retail therapy. So yeah, but like it's, as you say, it doesn't have to be expensive. Anyone can do it at home. Like, French press might cost you a tenner or €15 in the shops, like, and you're up and running, like, and you can brew a really nice cup of coffee. I don't know what you think, Brian.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, like I could be walking into Aldi or Lidl and my face will light up because I'd be sending Dave a picture of, oh, Jesus, there's something in Aldi or Lidl today with coffee. Like, they have a couple of times a year, 4 or 5 times a year, they'll have really good bean to cup coffee machines. They'll have French presses. They'll have some of the stoves, and they're half the price of what you'd see on maybe Amazon or wherever else, but just as good a quality. So as Dave said, it doesn't have to be expensive. And I said, there's bean to cup machines there for a couple €100 that do the exact same as what our Sage Barista Express machine does. That could be twice the price, So if you look around, there's value there. And yeah, I'm the same. I have a Sage Barista Express. I used to be an espresso. I used to use the pods, but as I said, now it's going to bean to cup all the way.
Actually, one thing as well that I've noticed that's very unique about yourselves is that you have like the reusable Nespresso pods. Would you find that like the quality from that would taste as similar to, say, like if you're actually buying the pods pre-made, or is it even more fresh than that again?
It's even more fresh than that again. I think the key to the pods, but I mean the pods are brilliant because obviously there's an environmental impact there, and I think people are starting to notice the amount of waste that they have if you're using an espresso machine a lot, and the cost of buying the pods, like it's like 45 cents and upwards, like, for pods. But you're bound to whatever coffee blends are available. So the great thing about the reusable pods is they're reusable, so there's no waste from them. But you get to choose which blend you put into yourself. And once you get your grinding size right, once you play around with that and get the right the coarseness or in the coffee itself, you can get really good coffee from your current espresso machine. So you get to try not only our coffee, anyone's coffee. Like, you can start putting into it and trying it out. So it just takes a little bit of setting up at the start to know what works best for you, what flow you want out of that pod. But it's been a big seller for us. Those kits have been really good.
And like, when you're touching on like actually grinding the coffee for the specific like methods of brewing, is there any sort of, I know you have the cheat sheet online, but even just give a few words on the podcast. Is it, say, if you're doing the coarser styles of filtering it, like using a French press or trying to do a cold brew, or like using the AeroPress, would it be like more coarse or like larger coffee granules compared to, like, say, if you're using a mocha pot, or if you're using like a V60, would it be like finer if it's a more espresso style brewing methods?
Yeah, that's it exactly. I think with the French press and the cold brew, like, it's far more coarse, and you get it medium coarse, medium, all the way down to extra fine for one of the pots. So yeah, so that's all on the cheat sheet. But there's and again, the Nutribullet will do that for you. So with that cheat sheet, it kind of gives a little diagram of what's coarse, what's fine, and literally you're just going to the Nutribullet to what you're looking at in the picture. So it's It's fairly straightforward. But as Dave says, it's trial and error. It's everyone has their own different tastes and different likes. Yeah.
But I think even somebody, someone grinding, whether it's been a NutriBullet or their own grinder, when we initially set out on this path, I was expecting, God, it's going to take me 5-6 minutes to make a cup of coffee. Like, whereas before, like, if you're using something else, it was so quick. Like, but it's still very quick. Grind your beans to make a cup or two and into your French press or pot, and let it brew for a couple of minutes and off you go. Like, so it's still you can have good tasting, coffee shop quality coffee at home pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. One thing I noticed, lads, when I got coffee from yourselves, was that it comes with a nice little tip on the workout of the week. So I was actually given the 6x1K workout, and that's one of the staples in my own training. But David and Brian, what would be your go-to workout, or what's your favourite workout that comes to mind looking back from your time when you're trading out in Kildare? What's your staple?
I only recently joined Davis Group, probably 6 months ago, maybe a year ago now. No, last September I joined it. And I love, there's a progression run in that. So we started with marathon training, and there might be a 10-mile progression one where you go 4 miles at steady, 4 miles marathon pace, last couple of miles at half marathon pace or a bit quicker. And I love them, because you're not killing yourself, but at the same time, you're flying along, and on a good day like that, you can just switch off and the workout's done in 50 minutes or an hour, but you've had a really solid workout, and the fitness builds really quickly on workouts like that, so that'll be my if I had to do one, something like a progression run or in-outs maybe, or something like that would be great, What do you think, Doc?
Mine would be more kind of, we do a bit of Canova style kind of training as part of the marathon block. So one of my favorites would have been kind of, if you do maybe 30k long run, and within that then you might have 5x2k, 4x3k, something like that, kind of mixed up. It's very Canova style, but it just kind of it replicates kind of race day a little bit, that you're putting yourself under that pressure. So it might be like, if it's 5x2k, it'll be off a K float in the middle. So it's tough sessions, but really good. You're if you're getting through those sessions, okay, you're in good shape.
So lads, just while we're finishing up there as well, where can people find your coffee, or are you kind of on social media now and stuff as well, if people want to drop you a follow, or even just to check up on updates and stuff of DB Beans?
Our online store is just dbbeans.ie, so they can see all the products there and buy from there, and usually delivery is kind of within 48 hours. And then obviously Facebook and Instagram, they can follow us there at DB Beans. So we try and go a few posts going up there every week, try to share a bit of information about what's coming, a couple of funny videos and that. So the latest information we put up for special offers and that. So that's where they'll find them.
Unreal. There'll be a link for DB Beans website as well down in the bio.
Don't forget to check out DB Beans on Instagram as well, at DB Beans. Thanks, lads, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Speak to you for this episode. Definitely going to have to check out the 42k blend before we talk to you next, but best of luck anyway. Definitely. And we hope you all enjoyed the episode.
Don't even think about talking with me right now. I'm having a caffeine attack. Coffee. I need coffee right now. Help me somebody. I need my caffeine fix. Hello. Can anybody hear me? Please help me. Please.